that place and the other place is going to get me a room. The problem is, without an advocate speaking up for me and explaining to these people they need to take it seriously, I just get talked over. Or I get talked around and told what an impossibility it is. Well, it is impossible if you don't try. That's been kind of the point of my whole life. It'll never make a difference if I never try. If I never try, then I will never make a difference. Just back and forth, right? Catch 22, oxymoron, whatever you want to call it. Figment of speech. Kind of like do damned if you don't. If you stay, things will be bad. If you leave, she'll make it worse. Well, if you leave a man, he can make it worse too. It's not a gender thing. We just decide guilt and innocence far too often based on gender. The picture on the front of here is Natalie Bollinger. She's the domino that started this whole effect. When I injured my back on my birthday in 2015, I was going to buy myself a C10 pickup truck from Brandon Ratner for my birthday. Instead, I got kicked out of my shop due to a friend of mine staying out there playing video games with the lights on and the music blaring until 4 o'clock in the morning when he knew he wasn't allowed to be out there. If it was an emergency and he wanted to stay out there for the night because he didn't have anywhere else to go, that's understandable. For him to have his stuff there, that's also understandable. Except that he also brought the very large stuff that was arbitrary, that he didn't need, that took up all of my shop space. Now, of course, hold on a second. Take me to Tillamookkk Sporting Goods.
Okay, Tillamookkk Sporting Goods.
I don't stay in the library parking lot at
Head
night.
east on 3rd Street towards Stillwell Avenue, then turn left onto Stillwell Avenue.
So what I'm going to be doing is breaking down the Nicole Vertner recording from today. She did all right. I feel really bad for her.
Turn left onto Stillwell Avenue, then
You
turn
get to
right
hear
onto
how
1st Street.
all the clanking and banging in the background. Somebody did apologize for that. That's the thing about being stuck in a subservient environment that is loud. You know, you ever tried doing your taxes on a construction site? Not easy.
In 600 feet, turn left onto US 101 North Pacific Avenue.
That's why they usually stick the management building a ways away from wherever the work is primarily being done. Close enough that you can meet with all of the contractors that you're working with.
Turn left onto US 101 North Pacific Avenue.
So what I'm going to do, I already have that on my other phone. I've already got the video pulled up. It's from one of the James interviews. Like a lot of people make, well, excuses for it, but they don't recognize it. Alright, I guess I'll just go straight. They don't recognize it as doing such. When they say, oh, well, he's mentally ill, or they say, oh, well, you know, it's not like that when he's not on drugs, or he's not like that when he's not on alcohol. Well,
in 800 feet, turn left onto Ocean Avenue.
For me, I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know when he's going to be on drugs and alcohol. Alright, after I pass this intersection, because you're not supposed to change lanes. Now to take a right here.
Take the
The
next
roads
left
here are
on
really
Ocean
fucked up.
Avenue, then turn left onto First Street.
So if I take a right here, then I up, and that left will allow me
In
to
600 feet, turn left onto
go back the
Goodspeed
direction I
Place.
need to go on the street that I need to go on. It's, like I said, it's messed. That's neither
Turn
here
left onto Goodspeed Place,
here
then
nor
turn left
there.
onto First Street.
Goodspeed Park, I've recorded quite a few people doing drugs there and being all blacked out. A lot of times the bathrooms, you can't use them
500
because
feet, turn left onto Tillamookkk
somebody's
Avenue.
sleeping in there. Well,
Turn
they're not
left onto
sleeping.
Tillamookkk Avenue, then turn left onto Oregon 6 West.
You can also hear how this talking to me distracts my ability to speak, which was not a choice.
Turn left onto Oregon 6 West,
With the
First
Nicole
Street.
vertner conversation, you're going to get to hear the clanking of the chairs as they're putting the stuff away. And this is something about not meeting in a professional capacity in a professional environment. Is that that's not even an appropriate setting to have to try to talk about that. Like anybody who knows anything about trauma knows that that environment there is not even the right place to try to engage in a conversation like that. But also, it's a church, and it is. And she's a hospital worker, so it is extra. Now you're gonna get to hear, you know, she says the things that I'm saying are plausible, and they absolutely are. But the point where she wants to, how do I say it? She wants to start giving me advice and telling me what to do as far as prioritizing. I get what she's saying. I'm also absolutely certain that she's not understanding what my disabilities really include. Like, I'm overwhelmed, and the clanging of the chairs in the background, the more that happens, the faster I start talking. You can also hear me getting louder and more afraid. The chairs clanging just gets me louder. That's not a problem, unless people want to pretend like I'm trying to scream at them, because that's just not. I'm overwhelmed with the environment. When somebody starts talking, that's a different scenario. When they start trying to tell me another scenario over the top of it, or trying to dictate what I can and cannot say, that gets scary too. Now when they start asking a bunch of questions or giving me a bunch of advice and saying things like, well, I didn't do that to you, I'm not telling you that you did it to me. That's not the complaint here. That's not why I'm telling you. And that's one of the things about talking over somebody in that situation. When a victim is going through something as scary as this, let me explain to you the point A to point B. That creepy old man who stalks me here in Hood River. He's been using Natalie Bollinger and the stuff that the police in Hood River said as an excuse to harm me everywhere I go. He's been stalking me since Hood River, and I did go to all of the police agencies around here. I also went up the chain of command already. I already attempted that, and they're doing everything they can to make it complete and total BS. By the time they offered anything close to what I need, they still haven't worked together with Adult Protective Services. And they've still threatened, harassed, and intimidated me on multiple occasions for trying to turn situations in. So, yeah, it all does need to go to the state police. The fact that I am here in, or not Virginia, here in, sorry, I was on Virginia Avenue earlier. Virginia Place, it don't matter. See, oh, there might be some youngins' cars there. I don't want to park by them, so I'll park at the other end of the parking lot. I don't want to disrupt them. They're keeping the peace and not screaming mean stuff. Great, because I don't want to have any more problems with them. Well, except Chris is over on this side. He might have himself a firearm, which I'm not cool with. especially as he's a felon and talks about violence as nearly all solutions for everything. Alright, none of them youngins are here being brats, so I'm gonna go park on the far side and mind my business for a few while I sit down and get to business. She wanted to assume or pretend that I went to her for advice. I didn't. I went to her to tell her what's going on and hopefully not get talked over. My disabilities are capitalized on easily, and that isn't any fun. As far as the corruption here goes, systemic abuse is corruption, especially when it's systemic abuse to hide wrongdoings. See, these people committed a lot of different crimes against me. The way that they slandered my name, the fact that professionals did this, it's not okay. So Natalie Bollinger is in fact and indeed involved in all of these situations, despite the fact that she's been dead for years and somebody else killed her. I'm going to dig out my paperwork here with Mr. Murphy if it's possible. I made room for a man to sit in here with me earlier today so I could give him a ride. And, this is pretty much just a commentary at this point, right? There's a lot of things that you're not supposed to say to a victim because it will, when they're in a seriously fucked up situation like this, it'll take away their trust in you. And all of these mandated reporters are supposed to have taken a course on this before they're allowed to have their work, before they're allowed to have their job. And no, on-the-job training does not count. It does not count. If the mandated reporters had done their job when I first got here, and if they had done their jobs in Hood River, and if they had done their jobs in the Dalles, yes, it's absolutely corruption. Everywhere I go, I get abused over Natalie Bollinger. Over people wanting to use Natalie Bollinger and the fact that I was never allowed a day in court. The term mentally ill was used to pretend that I was some sort of a nut job. I didn't start off communicating badly, but you start off trying to communicate and you get talked over enough, you're going to get frustrated. When they're assuming what you're going to say and then talking over you with those assumptions, that was what James was talking about in the last video. That is pretty significant. If this is stuff that he can listen to and look at, and it is so simple for him, why is it these professionals who are supposed to be trained want to talk over it and say it like it's some different scenario, some different situation? Now, I am super glad that even though it wasn't what I was expecting at the very beginning with James, the situation absolutely is one where I have gone to James for help before with. The multiple situations where police went out of their way to help their friends. But also to slander my name in a horrible way when it makes me more prone to take abuse from the public, from the homeless. And a lot of these people are angry that I recorded them, but I recorded them taking advantage of me. I get that people don't like that. That's why you should never trust an adult who asks you to keep secrets. The picture on the front of here is Natalie Bollinger. And I think that Nicole Vertner does deserve an honest chance. Now I'm going to pull out the stuff with Mr. Murphy that shows that he's trying to pretend that I killed some girl, and that's his reason for getting a protection order against me when he's been fucking stalking me. If I try to turn in my stalkers, I get talked over and treated like it's an impossibility for me to have something so simple as a goddamn room. The other thing is, it doesn't matter how long it takes. When it comes to protecting at-risk and disabled adults, you don't get just you don't get to just say, "Oh, well, we're not going to do it because it's going to take more than an hour." No, that's not how it works. And Nicole Vertner talks about that. So we're going to listen to it. It's about 20 minutes. She claims that it's an hour and that she spent 2 whole hours with me, and absolutely not. I recorded this situation and the last one. The last one was a situation where I'd already been pretty well screwed over by a lot of people, including Brian, who repeatedly didn't show up. And also, I was bullied by another one of my predators when I tried to go see him. That being the lady who calls herself Ashley Farn, or says that she's Robert Farnsworth's sister, Ashley. She's also one of the ones who was saying that officers here was offering her drugs for certain favors. She was also saying that, not Officer Olson, Officer Loffman was trying to sexually proposition her while he was in uniform. And that recording with her is also on this channel. When I go to these mandated reporters and they tell me to do things that are against my best interest, like telling me I should move, telling me I should go elsewhere, I should go to another jurisdiction instead of trying to turn these people in. No, that's not okay. That allows them to get away with it. It also forces me to leave again and again and again. Since James Murphy wants to reference Natalie Bollinger and pretend like I killed her, like I'd been charged with murder, that's what he wrote down. I've never been charged with murder. I've also never been charged with child abuse. Most of the predators I've tried to turn in have been charged with child abuse and been found guilty. You know why I've never been charged with child abuse? Because I don't abuse children. I babysat Jennifer Frericks, Tyler Frericks, and Donnie Frericks. Sorry, Donnie Sparks. And we literally never had any sort of sexual contact, ever. Alright, I can move. I'm in a lot of pain right now. So I'm going to post up the Nicole Vertner thing below here. It's me eating dinner at the Seventh-day Adventist Church and talking to Nicole Vertner about being assaulted at the hospital and how impossible it is to turn that in because the police aren't going to do their jobs. They've refused to do their jobs, and that's only part of the corruption. See, here's the thing, is that being sent to the police when they've already already betrayed my trust and the public's trust, and they've shown that they're only interested in trying to maintain a positive reputation when they've done such horrible things. And you don't see it as horrible. When police want to send me to all sorts of different agencies, or people want to start talking over me like I'm wanting them to assume, or they want to grill me, hey, you have to tell me right now what you want from me. Hold on a second. You need to stop grilling me because then I'm afraid to speak to you at all. And that sucks too. Alright, I think it's in this pile. I need to get a protection order against these people. A lot of these people. And that begins with having actual help with it. Alright, here it is. Alright, I do have it. James Murphy. James Murphy stalked me here from Hood River. He's doing it because he was lied to by the police in Hood River. He's been doing it since he was lied to by the police in Hood River. I've gone to law enforcement here in Tillamookkk about it and been blown off. They keep trying to tell me to go to the library. I had to go to the library and apologize to them for the conduct of these other agencies in sending me there as appropriate accommodations. It's not. Just because you don't want it to take longer than 30 minutes doesn't mean it's not going to take longer than 30 minutes. When somebody is being abused, they don't get to pretend that the abuse doesn't exist when it's going to take longer than an hour. An hour a day to get started on this. Well, here's the thing, is that an hour a day isn't enough. The fact is, it's impossible for me or anyone else to go through all of the evidence that I have. It's impossible now. The fact that I'm going to be victimized for the rest of my life over it really fucking sucks. Now let's take a look at this paperwork. James Murphy, Sean Schwartz. It says that he's an elderly person with a disability. Well, we already know that. He told us on this channel over a year and a half ago. It says respondent has abused petitioner within past 180 days. This man has been abusing me for, well, 365 plus 180. What is that? A fucking shit ton days. It says petitioner is in immediate and present danger of further abuse. I am in immediate and present danger of further abuse. I am a person with a disability. It says petitioner is an elderly person or person with disability. You see this? And of course, judge signs it all off. You see how easy that was? They make it impossible for me and send me around in fucking circles, and he can get all this. He got all of this on a fucking Saturday. They come and harass me fucking immediately. JRH, it looks like, I think. But yeah, this is James Murphy. I didn't have his name. Now, of course, they're going to order me to do all sorts of stuff because I didn't have any help. They granted it without any fucking evidence. Nobody fucking assisted me in turning this son of a bitch in, and all I've done is try to get help stopping him. I've gone to everyone that I can for over a year and a half. And we get to see James Murphy. There's his signature. There's his phone number. General delivery, Tillamookkk. He followed me here. He stalked me here. And you get to see how easy it is for my predators. When they know that you're trying to turn them in, they make it easy for anybody who wants to harm you. Now he tries claiming that my address is at the Tillamookkk County Library. You know, I was denied over a dozen times trying to turn these things in to police officers because they claimed that I didn't have the right address, or I didn't write down the exact time and date the things happened. Here, this man has been harassing me for over a year and a half, And no matter what, I don't have actual help. I have all these people who want to talk over me. If you can talk over me in that room, then you can shut up and leave and let me use that room to write this shit down. The fact that I have a disability has been neglected by all of these places. TC, TCCHC. Now here's the thing, he's done all of these things to me, including inappropriate sexual comments, conduct, and actions. He fucking stalked me here from Hood River. Alright, let's take a look at this. 2823. Now keep in mind, we have it recorded on here, him harassing me in Hood River all the way here. Making all sorts of false claims, yelling the N-word out the window, starting in Hood River. Over and over and over again, I went to police. Over and over and over again, they got an attitude with me. He typed Tillamookkk, Oregon, 82823. Tillamookkk, Oregon. He typed, I pulled into the library parking lot into the disabled spot, and he came over from across the parking lot and had his phone recording and started saying, this is a dirty old man who has been stalking me ever since Hood River. I called the cops. And yes, I did call the cops. And he is a dirty old man. That's not against the law. Right here, 82123, Tillamookkk, Oregon. He called me a dirty old man and told people that I am a dirty old man who is stalking him. And the old lady said she believes everything he said to destroy my character. He has been doing this every day for the last 2 weeks. This man has been stalking me for 1.5 years. And that lady's name is Susan. But Susan didn't go over with me with this, or over this with me. He typed, I am worried that people are believing the things he is saying about me and that they are going to come and hurt me. People do believe the things that are said about me, and they do hurt me. The things that I am afraid of are happening, and this is one of my predators doing this. And then he says, oh, poor me. No, not poor him. Here, he writes, he was in jail for murder. See, outright slander on court documents. And the judge filled all this stuff out and signed all of this stuff and had them harass me over this man. And all the things that they told me that I needed to do, this man didn't have to do any of those things. This man's disabilities do not prevent him from harming me. My disabilities prevent me from defending myself against him, and that has been blatant and obvious for the last 1.5 years. I'm supposed to have court on the 12th. I can't even read the name of the judge. And that's the problem. He didn't have to show any evidence. He just had to pretend. See, it doesn't matter how much he calls me the N-word. He didn't need any evidence. He just made a claim and he got it for free. Meanwhile, people never allow me to get that far. Can I please have a room to fill out my shit and be left alone? You see this right here? You see this right here? I've filled those out time and again and been told that I didn't fill it out properly or perfectly. Or I've been sent to the wrong place to turn it in, which I've been running through with the mentally ill bullshit here too. The thing is that something needs to be done right away. They are supposed to initiate an investigation right away. When crimes are committed against me, they don't get to pretend that I'm schizophrenic as an excuse to fucking ignore me and discredit me. So one of the things that we're going to do here, we're going to listen to Nicole Vertner, and you're going to get to see how her bullshit about how I have to ignore the Natalie situation and can't bring that up. Really? Really? Because this guy who stalked me is claiming that I was in jail for murder. I was never in jail for murder. Ever. I was in jail because the cops had to make up crimes to try to arrest me for, so they gain access that I'd already given the cops in Natalie's case access to. Boulder just thought that they would fuck up their reputation after Jean-Benet Ramsey. God damn, they fucked that up. Look at the officers they sent out. Officer Waylon Lolatai. It's not so bad when people call me a dirty old man, is it? I'll say that and worse. This dirty old man needs to leave me alone. He needs to stop stalking me. That's right, this man got to stalk me and then play victim after fucking stalking me, and they fucking gave it to him. Jesus goddamn Christ! It shouldn't have been this impossible for me to turn this man in. And all of these places, they could have given me a room to sit down and write this in. Now, just an hour at a time, yes, I can do that. But the important thing is to get the state police involved, because this has been ongoing. Every single agency that I have gone to for help in this has taken advantage of me for monetary gain. They get your tax dollars for doing this shit. Your tax dollars. To ignore at-risk and disabled victims and claim that they don't have the resources. Well, they sure as shit have the resources and will do shit right away for my fucking predators. That's the problem with being forced to go to my predators to turn in my predators. I can't function because I'm in a constant state of panic, because I am stuck out here on the streets where my predators have access to me. I have court on the 12th against this son of a bitch. If it's wrong for me to curse about being abused, well, then maybe you should have listened to me when I tried to explain it to you like a human being. You're going to hear me in the next recording trying to explain to Nicole Vertner what the hell's going on. The picture on the front of this, that's Natalie Bollinger. Her life was hell. And mine too. We both grew up with the mentally ill tag being used to discredit us. When our predators were on drugs and abusing us. And you know what the most fucked up part is? It's our parents. Our parents who couldn't stay off drugs did these things. Her parents and mine. I feel bad for Nicole Vertner. I want her to keep her job. But I also want her to be able to help me safely turn it in. And I can't have that if she's just going to keep talking over me and making assumptions about what it is that I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it, and I'd do a much better job without being interrupted and derailed. And it's tough enough when I'm in a state of crisis for that to not happen. It takes me days of peace and quiet after a major incident for me to be able to calm down. But I've not had that. My so-called safe environments were being stuck with alcoholics and drug addicts who were constantly bickering and fighting, sometimes even hitting each other, using me as a pawn in their bullshit. Nicole is right about a lot of the stuff that she's saying, and as far as the whole getting in contact with the lieutenant from the state police, I am absolutely certain that needs to happen. We need to coordinate a way for my evidence and myself to have a room and some peace and quiet to get this stuff done. When I got here, it ended up not being just this guy. There was also the situation with Molly and with Farnsworth, and I've got at least 20 witnesses for each one of these peoples. But nobody would listen. The cops just wanted to talk over me and pretend that my disabilities don't exist. Send me around to other places that won't try to understand my disabilities, they only exploit them. I get that I'm not in a wheelchair. That doesn't mean that my disabilities don't exist. The reality of my situation is that I don't have the resources to defend myself against predators like these. You don't like the quote-unquote hateful things that I'm saying. I'm hateful at the right things. This is inhumane treatment of a human being. Now, when I end this video, I am going to put in the link to the video I'm talking about. The one with Nicole Vertner this time. The one last time you get to see, or you get to hear how complicated it was. I got to try to... She basically pawned me off on a guy who's a drug addict, who has not historically helped me, repeatedly doesn't show up. At least he admits it. At least he admits that he's a drug addict. At least he admits that that has an effect on it. And that was Brian. And she knows Brian well. But you also get to hear Brian, how he just wants to argue about, well, not listen to anything I'm saying, but make it about how it's great for him. You know, he loves it out here being homeless. It's like living in a house. He still gets to see his friends. He still gets to do the drugs he wants to. He still gets to mess around, but he doesn't have to worry about the overhead of a house or not being able to have a job because he's on drugs. So me and him don't have much in common. When there's the hate crimes from a lot of these people, the police have interacted with these people and harassed me over many of these people. So they know their names. The police did know their names. It would have been easy to do that. Officer Martinez is recorded in my recordings months ago, when I finally was able to get them to show up because of the situation at Tides of Change. But again, they flopped it by not allowing me a simple hour in a room to sit down and write it down. At that point, I'd already tried explaining that, and I've got 3 different recordings with Monica from Tides of Change, where I explained to her each time, hey, you think you could let me have a room for an hour? A room alone for an hour. But no, it wanted to, hey, let's push the housing thing, and we're going to get to hear Nicole Vertner also doing that. Yes, I am down with housing, but we need to focus on stopping the abuse, on turning in the predators and making sure there are consequences for them so they don't continue. Because if I do any of these things back, I'm some sort of a horrible monster. The things that you call freedom of speech. I get in trouble if I do those things now, don't I? Look at the hypocrisy here. I'm disabled, but I'm treated like I can do all this stuff myself. I don't have any of that because of victimization. Because no matter what, no matter where I go, the situation with Natalie Bollinger follows me, and the expenses of having to move follow me, and the expenses and time of having to try to get reestablished and hope that I can get some help and a support network started before I am bullied and harassed and intimidated into moving again. Anyway, I'm also going to post it in the next one. Now, the situation, the recording also has Eli Friend. He's a guy who was harassed by Officer Reeves. He's been repeatedly harassed by Officer Reeves since the situation where that 14-year-old girl who was trying to turn in her stepfather was assaulted by Officer Reeves. Eli knows the girl's name. He was there that day. They did the same thing to her that is standard procedure when you try to turn in your abuser. They talk over you until you have a mental breakdown from them grilling you like you did something wrong. And they want to scare tactic you with juvie or a mental hospital. Or even worse, they're going to bully you to the point that you say, hey, you know what? You're pushing me to the point that I want my life to end. They're pushing me to suicide. They're bullying me to suicide. Then they've got suicidal ideation. So they're mentally ill for being abused now. They're mentally ill for trying to turn in their abuser. And that is going to follow that 14-year-old girl for the rest of her life. Thanks, Officer Reeves. Thanks, TFCC. Thanks, Seventh-day Adventist Hospital in Tillamookkk. It absolutely is corruption. These officers are using the badge to pull off their own vigilante agendas. There's also James talking about it at the beginning. There's multiple interviews with him today, and yeah, he says different things today than he does in a lot of the recordings where he walks up. But that's because a lot of times when he walks up, he is listening or he's in a hurry. And for somebody who's being abused, you can't rush them. You can't tell them, hey, yeah, it's going to take you 6 hours to do this, but you've got 30 minutes. And repeatedly I was bullied that way. That shuts us down immediately. And these first responders, these people that we're sent to, know that this is exactly the wrong thing to do, that it's illegal to do that. You should not have overbooked. It is not my fault that the police are having a heyday locking us up and getting money through the courts because you're overbooked at the mental health office and so won't do your jobs. Chris Stafford, we got to hear the recording with him claiming that Amanda had held a gun to his head. We also got to hear the recording on here where he was trying to get a firearm from Dallas Palmer. You ask me why I'm afraid? Well, I'll tell you why I'm afraid. Oh. Speaking of Chris, he walked into this parking lot. Obviously, I don't hate the guy, but we need to get this shit squared away so I don't have to be afraid. You can tell that I have communication difficulties. The more afraid I am, the more great they are. But I can't function to even write the stuff down because I'm afraid. Because I'm afraid. Afraid. That's right. I have to be afraid no matter what parking lot I go to. And people telling me to move somewhere else, that costs money to do that, first of all. And second of all, that is exploitation of an at-risk adult. That's social isolation. This bullying against me and the people taking advantage of me for my money and the fact that I have to be nice. I have to be super nice, super extra nice to people who have been predatory to me in the past because I still need the help. Monica at Tides of Change could have allowed me a room to sit down myself and do some of this stuff in peace and quiet. That would have helped me to feel protected. That would have allowed me a room where I could have some peace and quiet. And having the time to actually do it. Now, there was one point where she did leave the room and she did let me sit down and start on that. But I only got to start on it. And by the time I got started on it, our session was over and it was time that I needed to go do something else. There's a time limit on how long you're allowed to try to turn it in. If it takes longer than 30 minutes because they want to talk over you, well, oh well. But all they want to do is dictate what you are or are not allowed to tell them. That's not okay either. This guy pretending that I was in jail for killing a girl. No, I wasn't. I was in jail for telling on predators. And for having to do desperate things to try to turn it in. Because those predators were killing my friends. That includes Natalie Bollinger, who was shot in the head by Joseph Michael Lopez. That includes Benjamin Harvey, who was murdered by exposure by Boulder Police Department and the Boulder City Council. Immoral laws get innocent people killed. You can imagine and you have empathy are not the same as you listening to understand. I don't need you to tell me that you have empathy and you can imagine. I need you to listen to understand. Listen to put yourself in my shoes instead of trying to break apart everything that I'm saying. There is a reason I'm telling you about the abuse, and there's always someone that it can be turned into. There is always someone whose job it is. With all of these mental health workers trying to deter me from doing so. Trying to pretend that the death of Natalie Bollinger didn't force me into repeated abuse. Repeated, ongoing, systemic abuse. Especially by departments who I had already tried to turn in the situation with Natalie too. The moment I tried to turn in each of these agencies, it became a conflict of interest for them to do anything else to me. But because I was illegally denied the right to do so and sent around in circles about whose job it is, before anyone ever tried doing the paperwork part, it didn't happen immediately like it's supposed to from each and every one of these mandated reporters. And that's what made it so that I couldn't go to the mandated reporters. I could not trust any mandated reporter in Tillamookkk because I'd already gone to them all alone. The one situation where Martinez showed up about Murphy. What did Murphy do? Well, like a sly guy, he changed his license plate number. So I have both of his license plate numbers recorded. Officer Martinez was the officer who was supposed to investigate that. He even gave me a bogus case number. That was like 11 months ago, 10 months ago. I was trying to get a hold of them because of the Molly situation, and even with all of the witnesses, I was the one who got punished. I tried to turn in the situation with Farnsworth, and even with all of the witnesses, I'm the one who got punished. The situation with Molly, the situation with Tom, it's a bunch of people taking advantage of me. And then you don't listen to the screaming and the shouting that I have to deal with, or stop to understand how scary it is, or that it's not a civil matter. I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of myself. I am scared shitless of the fucking cops, of James Murphy, of the fact that no matter what, they get to commit fraud and slander on paper, and a judge will give it to them for free. But I have to jump through years of hoops. because they didn't give me these options at the beginning and a place to sit down and do it. My environment is not conducive to this shit. How am I supposed to do this stuff when I have to look over my shoulder for Christian coming out of the woodwork all fucked up? And I have to worry about Chris Stafford having an illegal firearm as a violent felon. I was trying to tell Susan I needed help with this so long ago, and she was going to help me. And you get to see how with all these situations, how them not being able to show up was not my fault. Them not following through with the contingency plan was not my fault. Them not answering the phone was not my fault. Them not coming forward immediately was not my fault. Them not understanding how important it was to come forward with me immediately in person was not my fault. Anyway, this video is an hour long. I'm going to shut this off because I need to be able to have more than 5% battery. I did find the stuff with James Murphy. This is not okay. It's not okay.